Hi, it's Ronald the Rules Lawyer. If you've been following my personal journey lately, you'll see that I've come to realize that my dry content is actually what my viewers seem to want. You just want me to be myself and deliver the content I've been delivering. So I'm going to continue doing that with the occasional fun video. But in the meantime, this video will be a dry one on the spectrum. If you're looking for something more moist, well, this isn't it. So you're going to just have to grit your teeth, relax, and take it. Currently, if you are a D&D player using D&D Beyond and you want to use the Silvery Barb spell, first of all, I don't know if I like you, but besides that, if you do, you have to buy the entire book that spell is in, the Strixhaven book. And that sucks. The best thing about Pathfinder 2e, I think, in comparison to D&D, is that all of the rules are free online. That's why the best thing about Pathfinder is this cracking website. It's called Archives of Nethys, and it started, I believe, as a passion project, a volunteer project by a Blake Davis. Paizo officially partnered with him in 2018 so that this is the location, the official location for their rules. It has the rules for Paizo's 3 RPG systems, Pathfinder 1st and 2nd edition, and Starfinder. Right now I'm on the Pathfinder 2e section of the website, and at the top here is an easy way to switch to one of the other systems. Here you can find all the rules for free. All of the rules text to run the game, all of the options for players to take, such as classes, spells, feats, animal companions. For GMs, you'll find monsters and hazards. It's just not as pretty as having a PDF that is laid out or having a physical book, but you'll still see that much of the artwork for the monsters can be found here. Also, it being a website, you can find everything hyperlinked. So if something refers to a rule, such as this giant toad's swallow whole ability, you can hover over it and the text shows up, or click it and it takes you to that element. It was also updated recently to support the new edition of Pathfinder 2e, the Remaster. Before I go into it, I need to mention that you can find most of the things you want by a simple Google search. Simply by typing 2e and what you're looking for, the Archives of Nethys entry is usually the first thing that shows up. Here is the Burning Hand spell, and when we go there, we see that this is actually legacy content and that there's a remastered version. And there's a clear rectangle here with a link to the newer version of the spell. It has been renamed Breathe Fire. You can also easily switch back. But as for Googling, I find that this method doesn't always come up with the result as the first result, and sometimes it doesn't show up at all in a few rare cases. And also, sometimes you don't know what you're looking for yet. You want to browse, sift through various options, and this video, I aim it to help people navigate the website and use its tools. I think this will be useful for people new to Pathfinder and who are still checking it out and haven't decided to play it yet, but also for veterans of the system. I think there will be some tips here that will help you play or run Pathfinder. I also want to point people to my friend Swing Whipper's channel. He's going to drop a video the same day this drops with tools that he finds helpful in running his Pathfinder games, and one of those is something I made. Before I go any farther, I am Ronald the Rules Lawyer. I am a lawyer who runs tabletop role-playing games. For 7 years, I ran an after-school middle school class for RPGs. Pathfinder 2e is my preferred system. Support my Patreon. I don't make money as a lawyer. For more info on that, look at the video whose thumbnail is on the screen. And supporting my Patreon gives you early access ad-free to most of my videos and exclusive content. Before I go on, I want to encourage people to support the Patreon to support this website. It is really well done, as I think will be apparent when you see the video. The last link on the left is to support the archives, and it includes a link to the Patreon. They say that the Patreon is necessary for them to continue to maintain this partnership with Paizo and use Paizo's Galarian IP on their website while not charging viewers for visiting it. So given the importance of this tool in the community, it is definitely something worth giving your money to. The first thing I want to point out is something I think most people who use this website don't know exists, which is the settings. You can actually change its appearance. This settings menu is also called Shaylin's Corner. You can change its functionality, and you can also change the theme and the feel to customize its appearance. Here is what the Blackbird round feel looks like. You can tailor it to your liking. I'm now going to go over the features of the website that I find most useful. I'm going to focus first on those that are more useful to newer players and GMs, and from there move on to things that even people with a lot of experience with the system should find useful. First, when you go to this website, and for Pathfinder 2e, you would type in 2e.aonprd.com. You'll see this link at the very top. New to Pathfinder 2nd Edition? Click here! That will take you to the Player's Guide. And if this is your style of learning, this is actually an excellent way to learn the rules of the system. Just go from the top down, and it gives you an overview of basic concepts to learning the Pathfinder system. There also is this GM screen, which has a lot of useful things that are useful in play, that players may find useful too, like this list of basic actions. Also, here's the list of conditions, with brief descriptions, and of course, everything here is hyperlinked. Here in the left-hand sidebar, you hover over it and it expands. You'll see that things are grouped under character creation, so player options, equipment, all of the feats you can take, game mastery, where you can find afflictions, creatures, and hazards, all of the rules, some setting information, which is actually kind of sparse, I'll say. It's basically the mechanical elements of the settings, such as deities and what domains the deities have, and a section for spells, organized by tradition, and rituals. Now, if you want to make a character using Archives of Nethys, first I would point people to some great free tools out there, or almost free tools, that guide you through character creation through a set of menus. Path Builder is the most popular of those. However, if you're like me, you like to browse and explore the entirety of options. So let's click on Ancestries, Pathfinder's word for races in D&D. Here you see this long list, grouped by how rare they are. But there is a useful link here at the top that takes you to a table of all of the ancestries. It tells you all of their hit points, their sizes, their speeds, their attribute boosts and flaws, and their languages, and whether they have dark vision, and the rarity. Nearly every ancestry gets one free boost. But if you plan your character to have two strong attributes, let's say strength and constitution, you'll want an ancestry that supports one of those. And here you can find out really easily with the Control F search. I will note here that there is this search bar at the top, and a button to show different ways to filter this table and to sort it. I'm not going to get into that yet. I'm going to get into that later in the video. Another choice you make at level 1 is your background. There are almost 200 backgrounds in Pathfinder, which is going to be overwhelming. However, if you want to narrow them down, you can use the search bar at the top. Let's say you want something that has a specific feat, like Battle Medicine, a very popular level 1 skill feat. It will narrow them down for you. Or maybe you want a background that will definitely give you a boost in Constitution. You can just type in Constitution. Choosing your class. This is a big choice. Here there's this nifty display of all of the classes, organized by rarity. The classes section of this website is where you'll find all of the animal companions and other kinds of companions, like constructs, eidolons, and familiars. And every class is fully detailed once you click through. Here's the Sorcerer. We see all of its class features, and there are these links to subsections of the Sorcerer that tell you more specific things, like all of the feats for the Sorcerer are on their own page. There are some sample Sorcerer builds, and your big choice at level 1, your Bloodline, has its own dedicated page that lists all of your options. Your Bloodline determines your magical tradition, which spell list you take. And if you're looking for a Bloodline that gives you, let's say, Divine Magic, like what clerics cast, you can Control F and type Divine, and it will take you to the Bloodlines that have Divine mentioned. Of course, in Pathfinder, not all your choices are under your ancestry and class. There are other feats called general feats that all characters can take. When you advance to level 2, you get to choose a skill feat. Skill feats open up what you can do with a particular skill, and they're usually intimidating to new players because there are many of them. Here you can click Skill under Feats, and it takes you to all the skill feats in the game. Of course, this is a huge list. There are 283 at the time I'm making this video. You can sift through them using the search bar and the filters and options that I'll cover later in the video. But if you're like most people, you're just thinking about a couple of skills at that level that you really want to improve. So let's say you're looking for a feat that helps your medicine skill. Well, here at the top, you see various links that take you to different subsets of the overall list of general feats. Click medicine, and you see all of the medicine feats are here, listed by the level at which you can take them, as well as their different prerequisites. Also, at level 3, all characters get a general feat, which does not have to be a skill feat. So in the left-hand menu, or at the top here, you can click the general feats, or if you want to exclude the skill feats, there is general no skill. I click there, and we see none of the medicine feats, but we do find general feats like toughness, die hard, fleet, pet, and shield block. Okay, so before I explain how to make those big intimidating tables work for you, there's a couple of things I want to point to on this website. The first thing I want to highlight is what I usually use Archives of Nethys for, which is to get a monster stat block quickly. This is also going to highlight the great search bar that's at the top of Archives of Nethys. I just type in a monster I'm looking for, like a troll, and we see all of the monsters that are trolls. These are what fall under the creature category. There are other categories where troll shows up, such as the troll trait and items that have the word troll in them, but they're grouped by category for easy navigation. Now, by default, under settings, it is set to prefer Pathfinder Remastered core content. It is set to yes here. So right now, if I type in a legacy monster like Purple Worm, which is associated with the Open Gaming License and D&D, it actually does not show up when I type it in the search bar. We see the cave worm here that is the remaster version of Purple Worm. If I change that setting in Shaylin's corner to say do not prefer the remaster and type in Purple Worm, it shows up as the first result. Now, admittedly, there were some things that I thought would be legacy and would not show up under the search bar under the default setting, like a white dragon, but it does show up when I type white dragon. I'm not complaining. I'm guessing there's something different in the legal considerations around the chromatic dragons. All right, so I'm a GM and my characters are fighting the town guard. I type in town guard in the search bar, and we see our first result is a level 1 NPC guard. That is very useful. And also a level 5 city guard squadron if we want them to fight a whole group of guards. All right, so let's say I pull the guard stat block up. I usually keep this in a separate window so I can look back and forth. Here we see the DCs of a level 1 creature if the characters want to recall knowledge about the guard. We also can easily make it an elite guard with a click, which changes the level, or we can make it a weak guard. If I'm someone running the proficiency without level variant, which flattens the math and reduces the differences between creatures of different levels, I can just click proficiency without level and it subtracts the level from all of the statistics. Again, we have hyperlinks to everything and we get to hover over things to learn more. So we have the attack of opportunity reaction. I hover over it and it shows us the rules for reactive strike, which is the new name for attack of opportunity under the remaster. This is very useful for when a monster has a complex ability, like the gelatinous cube, which has engulf. I can open this up in its own separate window. Also, back to our guard, we see that a lot of these creatures are grouped with others under categories. Here we are shown other officers, such as captain of the guard or watch officer. So for example, let's say I'm a GM looking for a skeleton to put in front of my players that is about level 2. So I'll just type in skeleton here and scroll down to the creatures and I see there's this harpy skeleton. I'll just click on that even though it's level 5. And we see that a table shows up showing all of the other skeletal creatures in the game. And I see there's a level 2 skeletal champion and a skeletal horse. Another thing I want to highlight on this website is that in Pathfinder, sometimes you want to find specific magic items that improve a skill. Let's say you are a wrestler and you want to improve your athletics skill. You might be a player whose GM has told you you have some downtime to do some shopping, or you could be a GM who's looking for treasure, appropriate treasure that your players are looking for. Well, you can easily find that by going under equipment, and at the top of the screen, you can see all of the different categories of equipment, and there's this link to all item bonuses. And when you click it, you'll see this long table that shows you all of the items that improve every single skill in the game. And there's a column to tell you whether it's a consumable item or permanent. This can be kind of overwhelming. Let's say you're just looking for those permanent items that give you a bonus to intimidation. Well, this is what you do. You can just go to the intimidation skill from here or from any part of the website actually. And one of the first things you see on the screen is item bonuses for intimidation. Click the triangle and you see all of the items for that skill. And you can see which ones are permanent or have a more narrow use case. They're also grouped by rarity as well. Here you can easily hover over the item and we'll show you what that item is. Okay, on to what some of you have been waiting for, how to make those large tables work for you and give you what you're looking for. I'm going to start with the very common use case of looking for a specific kind of monster to put in an adventure. First, I'll point out that you can look at all creatures, or you can look at only monsters that are not NPCs, or NPCs that are not monsters. All right, I'm a GM who is looking for an incorporeal undead creature that is level 5 or 6. Well, there is this search query bar here that is different from the search bar at the top of the screen. The search bar at the top of the screen shows you all results all across Archives of Nethys. This search query bar here below is to search within the table that's in front of me, and I'm looking at the monsters table. I'm going to type in incorporeal undead. This table instantly updates. It automatically is updated. It's super fast. And we find under the traits that our first creature is incorporeal and undead, but our second one is neither of those. That probably is because it is found somewhere in the text of that monster's stat block or in its flavor description, which is the case here. So that can be a little frustrating. However, for many people, this could be enough for you. Now, you're looking for a level 5 or 6 incorporeal undead creature. You can sort this table by one of the columns just by clicking its title. So here is the level title. I will click level, and it will sort them from lowest to highest. I scroll down and I can see, Amuse Phantom is level 5 and is incorporeal and undead. Maybe I want to use that. While we're talking about the search bar, I also want to talk about its two modes. By default, it is in standard mode, which runs like most search engines. You just type in some keywords and the machine gives a best guess of what you're looking for. But what if you're trying to do something more precise with your search line? Such as, what if you're looking for a specific phrase like swallow whole? Well, I first get a Bloodseeker, which is not something that is big enough to swallow anything whole. That isn't exactly what I'm looking for. So what I could do is put it in quotation marks. And here we get this message that says we are in standard query type and we want to use complex query type. We can switch it to complex query type for now and the future, or we can make it automatically detect which one we're using at the time. I'm going to set it to automatically detect. And now we have creatures that all have the swallow whole ability, the proper ability, like the giant toad and the animated fireplace. We can also put minus signs in front of something if we do not want that word to exist in the monster's description. So let's say we want a monster that does not have dark vision. I put a minus in front of dark vision, and we see that none of these monsters, including the crawling hand, none of them have dark vision. I also want to point out here that you don't have to look at this table. There are these different quick display options to show them in a different format. I personally like grouped by level. However, I find that this page requires some refreshing usually to make it give me what I want. Here are all the monsters that have the swallow whole ability grouped by level, and I can hover over all of these. Okay, back to our mission of looking for an incorporeal undead creature that is level 5 or 6. What you want is for it to show you only those results that have the incorporeal trait and the undead trait. The more precise way to do this is to use filters. There is this button right here, right below the search bar, that says Show Filters and Options. I'm going to click it. And we see right here that the filters are all grouped into categories. I'm going to go to Traits, and we see that the traits are also grouped into categories. You can make them grouped or not by clicking this toggle. Regardless, I'll type in undead and it shows up. I'm going to check undead. Now all of these creatures below are instantly updated to all be undead. I'm now going to type in incorporeal and I'm going to check incorporeal. Now all of them are undead and incorporeal. That was really easy and really quick. We can now sort them by level by clicking level at the top of its column. Then we scroll down and find our level 5 and 6 monsters that are both incorporeal and undead. Now what if we want undead creatures that are not incorporeal? I'm going to click this green check mark here. Again, it is now a red minus sign. Now we have all of the monsters that are undead but are not incorporeal. We can use the different display options as well for this. So I can group them by level and we get this display. However, that resets our traits, I see. So I'm gonna have to enter them again. All right, here are the undead creatures that are not incorporeal, grouped by level. Here, right above the table, we see everything defining this current table. This includes monsters that have all of the traits, incorporeal and undead, and it is sorted by level. We also can make our traits be ors instead of ands. So I just check this toggle here to make it or. This means we now see any creature that has any of these traits, incorporeal or undead. So we have something like this phantom raven that is incorporeal, but not undead. There are many other kinds of filters. We've only scratched the surface of the surface. Here under creatures, we can find creatures that have high and extreme attack bonuses. We can exclude them instead. Or we can have creatures that have low or terrible reflex saves. You can narrow it to a level range. You can limit it to certain rarities. You can also reduce the number of source books that it draws from. By default, it draws from all of them. There is a checkbox to hide results with spoilers or creatures from adventure paths. Under traits, there are many categories that you'll find useful, such as creature type if you want only animals, or maybe you only want creatures that have the fire trait. If you want to clear all of the current active filters and options, I recommend just clicking the link at the very top, here the monsters link, and it should reset them all. You also can customize the columns that are shown here. The way you do that is under filters and options, you click results display, and you get to decide what columns will be included. This is the predefined column set for creatures that shows their creature family, their level, their HP, their AC, and so on. You can decide you don't want to see any of this junk. You don't care what source they come from or their rarity. Let's just look at their level and their traits. So now this becomes our display. You can also add other columns that you would prefer to see. Let's say you are looking for something that has a fly speed. So here we can add a column, fly speed, and press plus, and that gets added to our list on the left. We can save our column set, give it a name, let's call it fly or fall. Click save, and it is here whenever we want. I can click creatures, it defaults back to the old display, or click my new set called fly or fall, and it should show up when I return to this website. All right, I left the website and went back, and it is still there. You can also sort the columns with these arrows. Let's say you only care about whether they fly or not, and that should auto-update them below. Now you can sort all of the creatures by their fly speed. So back to our search for incorporeal undead. I've narrowed it down to incorporeal and undead creatures. I have sorted it by level, but I wanted to sort by level and then sort by something else after that. Let's say I'm looking for level 5 creatures that have a weakness to fire. Well, as it turns out, having a weakness to a damage type is here under the columns that you can add. I go under weakness, I see that there's a drop-down menu, fire weakness. I will add that to my columns. I will move it up so it's a little easier for you all to see. We have this handy sort results button right here. You get to choose how it sorts the results. It usually sorts it by name by default, but because I clicked the column title level earlier, it's now sorted by level. But clicking column titles only lets you sort it by one thing at a time. Future Ronald here, correcting myself, you actually can sort by multiple columns just by clicking the titles. You just have to start clicking them. So for example, I want to sort by level. I click level, it's now sorted by level. Now if I click another column such as rarity, it now adds them to each other. So it now sorts first by level and then second by rarity, and I can continue adding more criteria. Now we are sorting first by level, then by rarity, then by size. Also, I should mention that you can click the title of a column a second time if you want it to sort in reverse order. So now I have the highest level creatures listed first. Here under sort results, we get to add to that. So here it is sorting by level from lowest to highest, And now we get to add fire weakness. I wanted to sort by level first and then fire weakness. So now we have our incorporeal undead creatures that are level 5, I can find them easily, and we can see that one of them has fire weakness. It displays first. It is the Shui Gui. I'm probably not pronouncing it right, but we have found it. You also can set the default parameters, the parameters that display on this page when you visit it for the first time and don't have a search active. So you can save the current filters, such as our traits, and also how they're being sorted by default and which columns they're showing. These defaults are saved per page type, and what we're looking at is the default for creatures. So what we make the default here is not going to necessarily be true for when we're looking at magic items. We don't need to know the hit points of magic items, usually. So I'm giving an overview here, but I'm also really, I think, it's clear I'm just skimming the surface of what you could potentially do here. It's a very flexible tool that you can bend to your will to give you exactly what you want, and it's really well done, I think. Now I want to point out a few specific ways these tables can really be useful to you on this website. Let's look briefly at the spells section of Archives of Nethys. You can click spells of a specific tradition. I am now at the Divine Spells list. They are all grouped by rank, starting with cantrips and then on to first rank. But this is just one kind of display. We see the quick display options, and one of them can be our table, which gives us more columns with other useful actionable information, like whether they have an area or how many actions they use. Here we have different filters that are more useful to spells, such as narrowing it to a tradition. Under spells and rituals, we can narrow it to divine spells. Here we can also find spells that have the very important and impactful incapacitation trait, the trait that means that a spell has much less impact against higher level creatures, at least creatures that are higher level than the equivalent rank of the spell. So I go under traits and I type in incapacitation, and I want to see only those divine spells that have the incapacitation trait. So here they are. We can also do this search under our usual display. We don't have to be in the table in order to use these filters. So I'm going to do it again. And here are all of the divine incapacitation spells. Not a huge list. Maybe we hate incapacitation spells with a passion and want to exclude them instead. We just make this a minus sign, and now we have all of the spells that are not incapacitation. Mind you, in my experience, for this display, it's sometimes useful to refresh the display to show exactly what you're looking for. You can do other things with these tools. Let's say you want to find a divine spell that does damage to a foe. There's not a lot of them in the divine list compared to other traditions. So I'm going to click divine up here to reset our work, and I'm just going to type the word damage in the search bar, and we're going to find that most of these spells are what we're looking for. We can also type in something like stunned if we were looking for spells that apply the stunned condition to a foe. What if we're looking for cantrips that target an enemy's fortitude save? How do we do that? Well, we click and find under spells and rituals a lot of the things we're looking for in spells. And here we find saving throws, and we click fortitude. Now we have the divine cantrips that target fortitude saves. We also can find all the spells in the divine list that let you spend up to 2 rounds casting them. There is one, Inner Radiance Torrent. Another situation you might find yourself in is you're a GM looking for a level 3 permanent item that is appropriate for the fighter in your party. Well, we can use the tools we've learned about earlier. Under equipment, we go to this all equipment screen, and instead of clicking weapons and searching under there and then clicking somewhere else to search under there, we can just do a single search under all equipment and set our filters to, I'm going to click items right here, and all of our different item categories are here. We can click weapons and runes. This now shows us all of the items that are either a weapon or a rune, but that is a lot. We have other fields here. We can narrow it to those that are level 3. Now we have all of the level 3 weapons and runes. So I hope this gave a good overview of how to make Archives of Nethys work for you. I use it in pretty much every session I run of Pathfinder. I usually have Foundry VTT open in one window and have Archives of Nethys, at least one of its windows, open on my other monitor. Ronald from the future again. If there were things I missed in this video, such as sections of Archives of Nethys or pages that other people should know about, or specific ways to use the tables for a specific purpose, please share them in the comments so that other people can find them. Again, I want to encourage people to support their Patreon. I'm going to include a link in the description, but it's also here at the left-hand side under Support the Archives. Definitely support the people who are putting a lot of hard work into it and constantly updating it with new content from all of the rulebooks and all of the adventures that they publish, that Paizo publishes at a high speed. They clearly deserve our support. So that's basically it. I'm going to end with talking about me and saying to support my Patreon. You get ad-free early access to my videos and exclusive content, and also to join my Discord community. We are over 5,000 at the moment to talk about Pathfinder and other gaming. And if you want to play Pathfinder 2e, we have our drop-in, drop-out organized play system called Endless Tale Tavern. So that's it. I have been Ronald the Rules Lawyer. See you next time.